Hey everyone. Today I want to talk about Stallone's physique in Rambo First Blood Part 2. So Rambo 2 was by far the most successful film in that franchise, and obviously he inspired a lot of people to start working out, wanting to get that kind of physique. So I'm going to provide you some insight into the training, the diet, and everything else that went into that. And also a couple unique facts about that film as far as the training and everything else goes. So Rambo First Blood Part 2 came out in the summer of 1985, which would have made Stallone around 38 years old. There's been conflicting reports about how much he weighed, anywhere between 163 and 180. Now, it makes sense for him to fluctuate throughout filming, but I couldn't really see more than 5 or 10 pounds at the most. Realistically, he's probably in the 170s, which, with his kind of frame, I'd say between 5'8 and 5'10, 170 at that kind of leanness. I mean, that's literally like middleweight bodybuilding size, which is between about 165 and a quarter and 176 and a quarter. So it was really impressive from a ripped muscular perspective. And this is one, in my opinion, that really kind of inspired a generation of people, young men, to want to look like him. In fact, athlean-x, Jeff Cavaliere, here's what he has to say.
The physique role models I had, very well known by this point, Sylvester Stallone. That's the guy that I wanted to be. I wanted to be like he looked like in Rambo. And some might say that, Jeff, you've actually become a bit like Sylvester Stallone was like in Rambo. And that's cool for me.
That'd be cool for anybody. It'd even be cool enough down at the Jersey Shore.
I'm an extremely aggressive dude that is ripped up like Rambo.
Ripped up like Rambo. Ripped up like Rambo.
And I could jump and kick like Van Damme. It's not a good idea to mess with his ass.
Looking like Rambo's good enough, but kicking like Van Damme? No wonder that show was so popular. Now, Stallone's seen every sequel for Rambo as an opportunity to change physically. He didn't just want to come back looking like the same guy every time. He wanted the challenge. In fact, he says, a real challenge, something that intimidates you, is the only thing that'll bring out your best. Now, getting into shape for Rambo 2 meant pushing to new limits. He said he needed a ferocious look to match a plot that was equally pumped up. Now, in the story, Rambo had been in a military prison breaking rocks, so his arms had to be powerful and hard. Months before the production began, he got into an extremely intense training regimen, and as the shoot got closer, he put himself on a repetitive high-protein diet that consisted mainly of chicken, greens, and occasionally beets. On the weekends, he said he'd lighten up a bit, may even have some ice cream. But come Monday, it was back to the bare minimum. Yum. Now, Stallone was definitely a lot bigger in Rambo 2. Definitely more impressive. What stuck out to me in one of the earlier scenes in the film, he kind of actually had that bodybuilder walk, that wide lat, not moving the arms too much type of walk. And you can see exactly what I'm talking about right here.
Well, you might want to think about maybe moving your arms a little when you walk.
Kind of got that invisible suitcase thing going. Now, Stallone says he wanted to look like Tarzan. Sleek, tight, almost cat-like. He wanted to really go for well-defined muscles, not so much bulk. So he actually started out lifting twice a day to achieve that.
It was about 8 months of training, 4 hours a day, toughing myself up. The SWAT combat courses, the archery courses, the survivalist courses.
Back into the gym again and work out again.
Now, credit's really going to be given to the late Franco Columbo for getting Stallone in that incredible shape.
Stallone look like this. I say, yes. I say, but how long? He says, we got only 7 to 8 weeks time. And I looked at it, and he has a lot of good abdominals, good chest, but not too big. And I said, but this is much bigger than Stallone used to look like for Rambo 1. And he says, yes. We have in the script that he's 10 pounds heavier to 15 pounds. I said, okay, what about if he doesn't get to look like that? And he says, oh, I will fire him. I said, wow,
Whether the producers were joking or not, that definitely put some pressure on Stallone to get in the best shape possible in 7 weeks. And building off of that, there's an interesting interview between Franco Columbo and Gary Schultz in the early 2000s. Franco was kind of promoting one of the new films he just shot called Ancient Warriors. And since they worked together on Rambo First Blood Part 2, Gary asked him if he had any interesting stories to share. I'll put a link to that article in the description below. Also, if you're curious about that movie, Ancient Warriors, there'll be a link in there in the description also. Franco said he didn't think, well, he was worried rather that he wouldn't have complete control over Stallone's training because Stallone kind of loves to be the boss and loves everything to be his way, which sort of makes sense. If you talk about a guy who writes his own films, who directs a lot of them, who acts in them, he's kind of used to wearing all hats and he's kind of used to being the boss, and you kind of have to do that if you're a director. But anyway, that was one of Franco's worries, and he basically told Stallone, he said, if we train, it's going to be my way. And what I did was I said, Sly, I can get you in this kind of shape, but what we need to do, we need to have an agreement. So I came out with a one-page contract that, you know, it said it's going to cost him so much, since basically I got to put everything else aside. I'm just going to focus on you during this time. He agreed, and in the contract there's a line saying that you cannot take anything without my approval, and that includes any kind of steroids, vitamins, minerals, anything. And I told him, because say, for example, if you take steroids and you get pumped up, you don't get defined, and the producers won't be happy. Now, Rambo in general is more known for being that rock-hard, sinewy, ripped type of guy, not just a raw size. Now, he's got a good amount of muscle, but it's not like Arnold or anything like that. But the conditioning, it's quite a bit more impressive. Now, I found that interview overall to be very interesting. A lot of people equate Rambo with being on steroids for various reasons. I mean, he's absolutely ripped, great conditioning, muscular. But, you know, for me, I don't think Stallone used anything, at least not for Rambo II. The work in, he's dedicated, he's working out with Franco Columbo. You know, Stallone in general, he's got pretty good genetics. That's despite what this Russian guy has to say.
This other man has not the size, the endurance, or the genetics to win. It's physically impossible for this little man to win.
You know, there are natural bodybuilders around that kind of frame, that size. You know, it just takes a long time to get there. So you're not going to do it in 3 months, but yeah, I definitely give Stallone the benefit of the doubt. That is an achievable physique. It's not going to be easy for anybody, but there's no reason why you couldn't achieve that with years of hard work and, you know, proper training and diet. Now, the workout routine was 6 days a week, sometimes twice a day. It usually consisted of supersets and split sets. So he'd do 15 to 20 sets of exercises targeting every part of the body. And before bed, often at night, he'd do 200 sit-ups, 250 push-ups, and 100 chin-ups. It's pretty insane. Now, with all that said, anyone putting that kind of work in, you're definitely going to look a lot more like Rambo II than you currently do now. But anyway, let me know in the comments below, because this is something that a lot of people talk about and think about. Do you think Stallone was natural for Rambo II? So one thing I do want to point out, so he worked with Franco Columbo 7 weeks to make this insane transformation prior to filming of Rambo II. But bear in mind, the key thing is muscle memory. So he started working with Franco since Rocky II and of course Rocky III. So he had already built a really great foundation, had a pretty good amount of muscle. Rambo II, the big key was just the conditioning he got. So obviously he put some size on, especially from Rambo I, which would be the comparison that you would generally make what he looked like in that film and compared to the next one. But the transformation, like I mentioned, somebody in general is not going to build that kind of body in that short a period of time, but because he already had built a foundation and was really just kind of like, you know, getting everything done in a short period of time, it would be achievable in that circumstance. Certainly not if he had never worked out prior to that 7-week training. Thanks so much for watching. If you like the video, of course, please give me the thumbs up. And if you're interested in this video, I'm going to do all of the other Rambo films as well. So I'm going to talk about the physique, training, and diet in all 5 Rambo films. And of course, at the end of that, I'll make a large video that encompasses all of that. So if you're interested, please subscribe to keep an eye out for that.